with your hosts, Tricky Mick, Alex, I You to No One, Sid, and Ender Phoenix.
Welcome, everybody. This is Trophy Horse, episode 671. You know what that is? That is...
Don't do it. Don't do it.
That's a damn fine number.
Don't do
it. It is a couple above the number of the show that shall not be named. But you heard him in the background. Tricky is here tonight, who had to fight through quite a bit of traffic to reach us tonight.
You know, normally I hate bikers on city streets. Today was just the ultimate reason why I hate bikers.
By bikers, you mean motorcyclists or
people that pedal their
regular
that pedal
cyclists?
People
are out there trying to get good exercise, and you hate them.
Bike lanes are an abomination on city streets, especially New York City streets.
Well, too bad for you. That's where you live and work. Therefore, you have to deal with it. So yes. You made it through the day. You made it to us. And for that, we appreciate you. You know who else we appreciate? Alex.
Whew, that's the first time I've heard that in a while. No, Tricky, I hate to tell you this, but cyclists, the people who ride bicycles, they're a problem everywhere because they sometimes, I guess, forget that they're not protected by a multi-ton machine. They're just on a fucking thing of rubber and pipes. Yeah, there's plenty of places where people can go bike riding. You don't have to do it in the middle of the street. I'm sorry. It's ridiculous.
A thing of rubber and pipes describes my weekend.
Oh, dear.
Oh, damn.
Well, before I formally announce our guest, because he decides that, comedic time is good, Yield, how are you doing?
I can't top that.
No, there really isn't topic. So we're just going to skip Yield and go right to our special guest, welcoming back for the 978th time. Don't ask me how the math works, even though we're on episode 671. We've got Jeff Hanna back here with us to talk gaming news, and things going on in the tech world. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Oh, we're just peachy now that you're here.
So here's the thing. We'll be giving some props here because I was watching a Mojo Plays, an offshoot of Watch Mojo, their video game arm, and they were doing like a countdown of the one thing that these top 10 games do better than any other game. And of course, Destructible Environments was one of those things they talked about. Now they eventually gave it to Tearaway, but the other game they mentioned was Red Faction Guerrilla, which, as we know, is a game that has stood the test of time and is, I don't know how many years old at this point, but the fact that they almost gave it to Red Faction Guerrilla is a testament to that game. And of course, Jeff was a part of the team that created that game. So I want to just say that here from the outset.
Coming up on 16.
So,
yeah,
yes.
I think they said they gave it to Tearaway just because of the more updated physics of that game.
Yeah.
So for those of you who might be with us for the first time, Mr. Jeff previously had worked for Volition and was on part of the team developing Red Faction Guerrilla, which, is a well-lauded, well-beloved game, and rightfully so. Definitely most of my fun spent playing on that era of consoles. And, I come back from PS2 days playing Red Faction on the original PS2, then playing Red Faction 2 and being ultimately disappointed, to loving the series again with Red Faction Guerrilla. So, always a pleasure to have you on here, Jeff.
You can see my current Saints Row, my Agents of Mayhem, and then Saints Row 3 and 4 posters behind me. Red Faction Guerrilla is actually in front of me in my eye line. The way I got my office set up is the most important games are in front of me, so I can get kind of enthused by them every time I look up from work. And it's Fighter Duel Pro for the Amiga, which is the first game I was ever credited on. Red Faction Guerrilla, Air Warrior, which is the first game I worked out of college, and then over here is Multiplayer BattleTech 3025, which unfortunately, due to EA, never saw the light of day.
Yeah, listen to all that success. Up yours, John Riccatello.
Yeah.
Also, Jeff, I gotta give you some props because I was telling my stepfather today that I was tired and didn't want to do the show, but I had to because we had special guests coming on. And he asked me who, and I said your name, and he goes, "Do you mean Jack Hanna?" And I said, No, Jeff, who's much better. And he goes, "Well, I don't know him." I said, "Well, all you need to know about him is every time he comes on the show, he talks and says very intelligent things, makes me feel stupid, and then he laughs at me." And he goes, "I like him already."
Yeah. Also, I think Jack Hanna has an H on the end of his name.
I don't know.
Is that right?
Well, either way,
I don't recognize.
No, he does not. He is of the non-palindromic last name Hanna. Okay.
The only animals Jeff is dealing with are the animals in his background, who are politely enjoying and laying there nicely, just like my Zelda sitting down there, just being a cuddle bug. That's it. Is your paw in the water again?
just as I got done talking nice about you.
There are only two Hannas I recognize: Jeff Hanna and Hanna-Barbera.
That one has an H on the end, not related to that one.
Yeah, no relations.
No.
All right.
To Yogi Bear.
We've got a packed schedule tonight, so we're going to keep the show moving along, and we're going to go into our updated trophy counts, which I'm going to sit here and say, Jeff, I don't know why I didn't think of this beforehand, but thank you very much. Jeff has kindly gone into our
Is he the one that did that?
And reformatted to make it so that way it's not bullshit every week when we have to add somebody new in and it's all misaligned. So thank you very much, sir.
You put a Word document, a Google Doc document, in front of a person with a graphic arts degree, and you don't have your columns tab aligned, my skin crawls.
They were set up correctly, and then Matt started doing the agenda, and somehow they got all wiggly. I blame Matt 100%.
Well, if you use a table, they'll never get wiggly.
Noted. Tricky. Good luck next week.
No, Matt, even before this show, the formatting on our agenda has been fucked up. Don't let Tricky throw Matt under the bus.
It was always perfect until Matt started making the agendas.
Oh, okay.
Hey, know how you keep saying about letting you know when? Well, guess what?
Next week.
When?
I charge reasonable consulting rates, just so you know.
Wow. He didn't just run you over, Matt. He backed up, made sure he got you.
Yeah, and you know what? I just put up the severe tire damage spikes because of that. So good luck. Have fun.
I am level 967 total trophies of 34,392 with 996 platinums.
Alex?
So wait, does that mean that Jeff had to type out our platinum trophy numbers?
No, copy paste is a thing.
Oh, okay. I thought you like.
Welcome to computing.
Alex doesn't know computers at all.
See, here's the thing. Yeah, even despite my glasses, I don't know all that much about computers. But I was thought like Jeff would get sick to his stomach typing out our trophy number, so I just wanted to make sure he was feeling okay. Okay.
Well,
level 521, total trophy count of 10,608, and a platinum count of 193 and 192 games. For those of you who can count by one, that's an extra platinum trophy.
Yield?
Level 582 with a trophy count of 11,096 and a platinum count of 211. I too got a new platinum just the other day as of recording, so keeping my streak of a platinum a month alive.
Nice, very nice. For those of you who can count, you'll see that my number has not changed at all. Level 222, and Jeff, you see, total trophy count 1337.
Yeah, huh? You don't want to get rid of that.
I'm not touching that.
You don't ever play another game ever. Yeah.
Until Spider-Man 3 comes out.
Last week. Yeah, we discussed that last week. I'm going to make a different profile.
No, Ghost of Yotei. When Ghost of Yotei comes out.
Yes, accurate. Sid is level 893. Total trophy count of 27,342 with 851 platinums. Jeff, your special notes in here?
Yes. I am level Xbox. I am trophy count PC Master Race, and my platinum count is achievements.
We never need to have another count on that. I am good with repeating that week after week, even when you're not on the show.
That's fine. Yeah.
So
it's been almost a decade since there was that little mix-up with fucking Nathan Drake and me putting the PS3 dev kit into not developer mode and possibly getting an achievement. Or excuse me, a trophy, and then wiping it because I had to put the dev kit back into dev kit mode to finish Red Faction Guerrilla. So we can let that go now.
Yeah,
see, we were going to let it ride there, Jeff, and then your guilt about that trophy has arisen once again.
It's not guilt; it's freedom.
I can't really argue that.
That's how I feel week after week, not beholden. Every time Tricky's like, Matt, you need to get a platinum. I'm like, no, I really don't. Yeah, I'm good.
I'm like my own yin and yang. I'm like, Matt, you should get trophies. And then then the other guy on my shoulder's like, no, Matt, fuck trophies.
I'm going to make an extra life level that if I raise a certain amount of money, Matt has to go platinum a game.
You see, the funny part about that, Tricky, is I have to agree to that.
Yeah, I'll get V involved. She likes helping me out those things.
Right. Okay. Anyways, Will is in chat saying that's cheating. Well, Will, if you haven't noticed, when it comes to trophy hunting, cheating tends to be a thing. Whether it's trophy hunting, whether it's beating the Donkey Kong all-time score, there's a lot of cheating involved.
Wow,
you're really gonna lump in everybody with Billy Mitchell?
I was gonna say he's doing a deep cut there.
Yeah, I'm throwing that up for Will because it's a little bit of a tee up for him to respond to. Anyways,
people that are keeping real count, my gamer score is 58,657.
Nice. So, Jeff, with that score like that, tell us what you've been playing.
Let's see. I bounced off of it hard, but then I went back, and I'm glad I did. I played Atomfall beginning to end. Now, I realize Tricky has no idea what I'm talking about because, one, it's first person, and two, it's fun. So it would be totally alien to him. Is it available on non-Microsoft platforms?
Atomfall, I believe it's on Xbox.
That's a Microsoft platform.
Yes.
That's where I played it. I asked if it was available on non-Microsoft platforms.
I didn't hear the non part. I apologize.
Well,
yes, it's on PS5.
It says PlayStation,
okay.
Xbox, Windows.
It's It's a little slow going in the beginning, but anyone that wants to try it, I would say stick with it. The sort of futuristic retro 50s vibe with some interesting weapons at the end of the game is actually very entertaining. And overall, I had a lot of fun with it. I have also been, I finished Satisfactory 1.0 with a friend of mine. We got all the way through all 9 tiers and made it to the end game on that. And now I'm kind of going down the rabbit hole of modern railroad games. I spent most of today playing Railroader. I'm also looking at Derail Valley and Railroads Online.
That's it.
Damn, that's all that pipe this weekend you've been talking about.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm crushing it on Duolingo because I'm learning Russian. But that's not really a game, but it's gamified, so, you know.
I think the last time you were on, you talked about doing Duolingo stuff.
Nope.
No? New?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Maybe it was somebody else.
It must have been.
Will in chat says Billy Mitchell's a saint. I didn't know we allowed liars in our chat. And Redbeard Rick, he's playing Atomfall at the moment. Good game. Reminds him a bit of Chernobylite.
Yes. I've heard some comparisons between Atomfall being like a British version of Fallout, and I can't go with that because it is completely bereft of the typical Bethesda jank. Like, there aren't any massive, like, I've taken 2 steps forward from the start of the game and suddenly it's crashed my hard drive sort of problems with this game. So I cannot compare it to any Bethesda product.
So wait, Jeff, no Oblivion Remastered for you?
I mean, I have Game Pass so I can get it, but I played Oblivion Unremastered, and I don't know how many more Bethesda games I can take where you start off in a catacomb and then there's the big going outdoors unveil of the world. Like, I'm just tired of all of their story beats, honestly.
Yeah, apparently you and nobody else, because everyone, like, I can't get away from people talking about that game, whether I'm at work or whether, you know, it's here on the show. People just love to, I think people really love to play. I mean, people like Oblivion, but also it's like, oh my God, it's not Skyrim. Yes.
Yeah, and there's probably a lot of people that have never played Oblivion because that game has got to be 20-something years old now.
I've never played it.
I don't even know what the original release date on it was.
Was that on a PS3 or was that PS2?
It was on a PC.
I was going to say, I don't think it was on console, was it?
I thought 360.
Yeah, it might have been an Xbox exclusive.
So it would have been PS3 era.
Yes.
Yeah.
It released on March 20th, 2026. So that would have been...
2026?
I'm sorry, 2006.
I was
would have
gonna
been a month before I got to Volition. So I was still at Mythic when that came out.
Rick says it was on PS3. Well,
Yes, it was PS3, 360, and PC. Yep. Of course, the people on the 360 never played it because they were all dealing with Red Rings of Death around 2006.
Hey, you gotta wrap a wet towel around that thing.
That's right. Just like your
Jurassic
head.
Parky is in chat saying first 360 game they fully completed was Oblivion.
Really?
Eeny, meeny, miny, yield. You're up next.
Oh, wow. Let's see here.
He called you Miney.
I played a bunch of different Jackbox games when I was
which
over.
Ones?
We played some of 2. I think we played some of the games in 7. We played the newer one called Survey, I think it was, where they would be like, they would randomly give you like, give me the top 100 answers of ice cream or whatever.
Yep.
Something out there. And then you type in as many different answers as you can, as fast as you can. And whoever, then you'd be like, oh, you found 50th. And you're like doing it as a group, but you're being scored individually of how many you get and the higher one you get. So that was fun because we hadn't played that one before. But I was playing that with my buddy and his son because it was his birthday. And he wanted me to come over and hang out and play some video games. So we did that. We played some Rubber Bandits. I think that was it for
I'm sorry, some what?
Rubber Bandits.
Isn't that
your nephew?
The brawler game?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, where you
like in the vein of Party Animals and Gang Beasts and
yeah. Played some Rocket League on Thursdays because they had a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle event and I wanted to get the freebie stuff. wasn't paying the $25 for the turtle van, even though the turtle van's pretty cool.
Is that how much
I
it
missed
was?
my rant on that last week.
It's $25 for the pack. And that's the only way you can get it.
Wow.
I said that last week. It pissed me off because you can't buy the items individually. And
I don't listen when you talk, so.
Oh well, whatever. But
So anyway, so I played through that, and then
there is a Star Wars collaboration
Yes.
going on right now.
They had a Star Wars collaboration going on and it was all Imperial stuff. So me and Nitro played for a good portion of yesterday, and then the Brain 76 jumped in. We pretty much played Rocket League all day. I ended up buying into the Rocket Pass because I was completing everything. I picked up the General Grievous car because it had the Dominus GT, and I'm like, I want that car. So I bought that. So I've played, like I said, played some Rocket League recently. Played some Pac-Man World Repack. Almost got to level 9, and I didn't quite make it. So I was sad. Fired up Helldivers 2 for a little bit just to see if we'd completed any recent missions to get the medals. I've been playing a lot of SnowRunner this weekend, working on my Russia map, working towards that platinum. And I fired up a little game last week called Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
The best Nazi fascist punch simulator ever.
Right?
Did you what's the what the hell's the word? Yo, did you have to make a Microsoft account?
No, I did not.
Nope.
So we are good.
Because Yield couldn't play your other favorite game, Sea of Thieves, because they need a Microsoft account, Jeff.
And it wouldn't let me create one.
I thought Microsoft was dropping that on all those games.
Well,
Maybe it's in progress.
I hope they do. They kept making me give different. Like on the third time, they're like, "Here, we need another email." I'm like, "F you and your stuff." They wouldn't even let me use my Skype account, and I was really annoyed. So I said, "Yeah."
Oh,
But I think they're.
I don't know if you know, Skype's going away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't.
Probably it'll get turned off right in the middle of this podcast. Just poof, we're all out.
Just poof. We're done.
We're done.
There may have been something else I may have been playing. I'm not for sure. Oh, and I've been playing Submerged, Hidden Depths. That was my latest platinum.
Well, Yield, you buried the lead. Do you have any initial thoughts on Indy and the Great Circle?
So I'm not super far into it. Not really spoilers. I'm in the Vatican, so which is kind of like the
punched any Nazis yet?
Well,
they're not Nazis in the Vatican. They're fascists.
They're fascist. Yeah. So I've punched some fascists.
You do get some Nazis later in the Vatican level, but for the most part, they're just fascists.
I've busted some guys upside the head with a guitar, old El Caban.
Yield out here punching fashionistas in the head.
So,
is it any coincidence that Yield's in the Vatican right after the Pope passes?
Right.
It's a little conspiracy there for you folks.
So I like what I've played of the game so far. I think Troy Baker knocked it out of the park.
Oh yeah.
It was real close to Harrison Ford. I was telling Tricky, he called me the other day. Well, like I said, what I've played of it, I've enjoyed. Everybody's always had the argument that, Uncharted out Lara Croft, and Indiana Jones. And now having played all 3 games, they're similar, but they're all different in their way. And I lack the words to express how they're different, so you'd have to experience it. But the one thing I was telling Tricky about that might be an annoyance, I need to get more into the game to see if it's just me or if it is an annoyance, is that there are multiple mysteries that you can solve, and I'm not far enough into them to realize, do they tie into the main story, or are they just little side mysteries? And I find myself getting, one, you have to do it, if you're going for the platinum, you got to solve all of them. But the other one is I find myself bouncing between all the different mysteries to try to solve them as I'm going. And then I'm almost overwhelmed by the fact that I've got all this stuff to do. I kind of lose track of what I'm doing in the main story. So that could be a me thing, or it's a game thing. I need to get, like I said, I need to get different stages into the game to see if it's a me thing. But other than that, I ain't got a problem with it. Love the game.
I had the same sort of overwhelmed by all of the mysteries to track down also in the Vatican. the levels that come after the Vatican aren't as. The Vatican kind of spirals out into a bunch of different directions, and it's like you're here and you need to be over there, but to get there you have to go. Like, it's not the best level design. The other levels, it's much easier to get from point to point without having to go to a central like courtyard and then back out different alleyways, and so it's not nearly as overwhelming as what you get in the Vatican.
Okay, that's good to hear. I'm just like, my mind wants to be like, oh, this sucks, and I want to knock the game down a few pegs, but I was like, but it could be a me thing, not a game thing.
Yeah,
my completionist is kicking in.
And don't worry about finishing them all before you want to leave. They don't explain this very well in the early game, but you can go back to any area in the game at any time.
I kind of wondered with the whole street signs, if that's what they were hinting at, but I hadn't, like I said, I hadn't really messed with it yet. I was just kind of banking on the fact that I bet you can come back.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
Cool.
So I do want to point out that, like, I obviously this game with the whole explorer aspect to it is going to be draw comparisons to, like, say, Uncharted. Even though I believe Indy and the Great Circle is first person, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
But it's cool that they have like the Vatican or real world places, because really they're impressive set pieces Uncharted, but they're not really like real world places like, say, Assassin's Creed. So it seems like to me like, hey, we have your like mix of Assassin's Creed. We're going to have real world places, but then we've got more the treasure hunter explorer aspect of, you know, something like Uncharted with Indiana Jones.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's good. I think you, if you don't mind, I know Tricky's not going to play it for his hatred of first persons, but I think you would enjoy it, Alex.
I don't hate first person.
I found a revolver, and I've got like, I don't know, 15 bullets, and I haven't even equipped it. I'm like, I'm Indiana Jones. I use my fists and my whip.
Yep.
And, you know, Yield brought up a very good point, and I forgot to say it at the start of the show, but may the 4th be with you all. We are recording on May 4th, so therefore, Star Wars Celebration.
It's that time from way, way back in history where the Enterprise defeated
my God,
the shadows from Babylon.
I'm sorry,
5.
Jeff, you're breaking up. Are you still with us, Jeff?
It's a great day.
I'm having difficulty hearing you.
I got a question. Do people still hate George Lucas, or have people let go of that ever since Disney took over?
There's still people that hate George Lucas.
I don't know why would they.
Disney's given them plenty of other things to hate, but that hasn't diminished the hatred toward George.
Yeah, they still listen. Here's the thing: it's only recently that people have come around and said how Revenge of the Sith is one of the greatest Star Wars movies in the entire thing.
I feel like people have
not true.
I feel like people have softened on the prequels ever since
after they saw what Disney did.
People actually are starting to like Hayden Christensen again. So,
here's my thing.
Hold on. We got to go back.
Be quiet.
No.
We're talking Star Wars.
No. We're going back to Star Wars because Jeff just said something blasphemous. You saying Revenge of the Sith was not a good movie?
No, he said it's not the best movie.
It's not the best one.
Nobody's claiming that it's the best movie. Just saying that it's one of the best of the lot that's out there now.
I would rank it in the top 3 or 4.
I would put it in my top 3.
Rick says it's the 3rd best. So because
Rick and I are thinking the same.
I'm going here with saying
Return of the Jedi is the best overall of all of them.
Oh, here we go.
By a country fucking mile.
Jeff and I are team
Size Noodles disagrees.
The argument would be Empire would be the best one.
Yes, Empire.
Hey, no, Return of the Jedi has the best opening of any of the Star Wars movies.
Agreed.
At Jabba's Palace.
Yes.
At Jabba's Palace.
Rick says Empire then Jedi. See, what I'm coming at with is I'm saying Empire, Rogue One, and then
Rogue One is not. Can't be part of the conversation. That's not part of the...
Rogue One is better than any of the prequels.
Amen.
I will.
I wouldn't go that far.
I will.
Oh, wait, I thought you were going sequel trilogies. Sorry, Jeff.
I would agree with that, but as far as the 9 movies, you can't include Rogue One with
Well,
that.
guess what? We are.
Rogue One is better than any that has Hayden Christensen in it because that man just has a flat delivery on every line he's ever given. Now, granted, that's a directorial problem as much as an actor problem because Hayden Christensen does some good things in other movies.
Did you not? Did you watch the Ahsoka series?
I did. Those aren't movies. They don't count in this argument.
Oh my!
It's a series. It's not
All right.
a movie.
I can't exclude anything with Jeff can.
This is
that's
my
fine.
fault. I limit the guys on wrestling talk, so therefore I'll limit us on Star Wars.
Speaking
talk.
of which, just so you know, me and Alex skipped our WrestleMania talk last week.
Yes, good.
We're not going to do it this week either.
No, we're
We're
not.
not going to do it this week. But I'll dive into Star Wars the whole episode.
That's I think going to be a Patreon for us. We're going to do a Star Wars Patreon. All right.
Okay.
Alex, you want to talk about what you've been playing?
Yeah, I guess we'll do this. All right. Let me suck in a lot of air here because I'm going to talk a lot.
Time to take a nap.
All right. So, well, I mean, I played a little bit of Rocket League, played a little of Helldivers. The Rocket League, the newest collaboration with Star Wars, is a lot better than the Turtles one. Yield, I'm glad you got some of the Turtle stuff. You liked the rewards. I hated it because I thought the rewards were shit.
The only thing of the Turtles I really wanted was the topper that had them how four of them coming out of the sewer, and I
not
just
the shredder wheels.
Okay, those were the second coolest. I got those two, and I'm just like, well, I might as well just get the rest of the freebies. So
yeah, I was just pissed they had way too many banners and stuff like that. Like that was a lot of the free stuff was just like, I can do without it because they had a banner for each turtle, and that's 4 of the rewards right there. So, but yeah, the Star Wars one is a lot better. I think for the Octane, the skin, the Stormtrooper skin is maybe my favorite thing of the bunch, but they did a lot better job with the free rewards this time around.
Really, I like this. I like the TIE Fighter car topper.
Yeah, and they got Force Lightning stuff like the trail and then the boosts. I mean, there's a lot better stuff in this one than there was in the Turtles one, which is disappointing because I love the Ninja Turtles, but it is what it is. But most of my time spent this week getting the Platinum Trophy in RoboCop Rogue City.
How is that?
It's a lot of fun. It's a game that you can get the Platinum Trophy in a single run. I'll say it takes you between 20 and 30 hours, maybe. I was over 20 hours. I definitely know. I don't know what I topped out at, but it's a game that feels long enough, not too long, not too short. So that's nice. And you don't need to be a RoboCop fan to like it. The gameplay itself is just fun and is fun enough to where you can just jump into a fun first-person shooter and enjoy it.
Can you buy it for $1?
You did that joke last week, but that's one of the
No,
trophies.
I didn't do that joke last week. Matt did that joke last week.
Okay.
No.
We'll go
But
back to the audio.
Tricky
Yes.
is definitely you.
You sure you want to do that?
Yes, we'll go back to that audio. I didn't make that joke last week.
Anyway,
Okay.
as far as trophy, that is a trophy, Tricky. They do reference that as one of the trophies. But you know a game's going to be good when the first trophy you're going to get is called Zip This Up and you shoot somebody in the nuts. Like, that's what you get the trophy for. So
Yes.
the game itself, like, it does a really good job of making you feel like a badass because, like, you're the way, like, you know, obviously you have to have a warrant or something to go into places, but there are times when you'll just break down a door, like bust it down, like you breach the door with RoboCop and they'll bust it open and you feel the force of it. And it goes into slow motion. So anyone who's behind you, like, you go into slow-mo and you can pick them off if you're quick enough. You can pick up motorcycles and like trash bins. I'm not talking about like a trash can. I'm talking about the big industrial motherfuckers behind restaurants and throw them. You can also punch people. We talked about Oblivion, Elder Scrolls earlier. You can punch people into the fucking nether realm in this game. Like, punching people in with RoboCop just feels fucking incredible. Like, you feel so goddamn powerful. So that's one really awesome thing they did is when you're playing as RoboCop, you feel like RoboCop and it feels just empowering. It's like that old video game thing where you want to escape the world and you want to feel like a powerful being. Now, later on in the game, it kind of makes things really, really easy. But, you know, just playing as RoboCop, you would expect to feel just like this big, powerful badass. Just a few tips for the game, I would say. There's these things called... one of the things that makes you feel so powerful, like there's these motherboards that you collect, and essentially these motherboards are like, you can upgrade them. Like, you collect things like to upgrade like these almost, it's like a node-like structure. So like if you think like something like I had on Dead Space, like you put these upgrades into nodes that help upgrade like different aspects: capacity, reload, speed, attack, power, of your PC9, your default weapon, because the pistol, the PC9 that I had, was the weapon I was using the most at the end of the game, for reasons I'll explain. So it'd be rocket launchers, sniper rifles. No, I was going with the PC9 because I found the PC9 gives you infinite ammo, but I found on one of the motherboards there was an auto reload thing that you could get. So I was able to input the upgrades to it's like a little map, and so I was able to input input upgrades into the nodes to where I got the auto reload. And like earlier in the game, I was fighting an Ed 209 as a boss fight. By the end of the game, the Ed 209, which gave me so much trouble at the beginning of the game, was no trouble at the end. Like I was just spraying bullets everywhere, just murdering everything. And honestly, it made the game super easy because even on the normal setting, there's health lying around everywhere. But again, it's all in the name of good fun. Not a difficult game, but really, really super fun. As far as like tips go, there are upgrades that you can do. There's 8 different upgrade categories. You can't really, I would say, upgrade all of them all the way, but you really only need to upgrade one all the way for the trophy. But just I'll give my tips on what to focus on. Deduction is the one thing you're going to want to focus on first, because when you get to the end of deduction, you get a boost of 30% to your XP. So that allows you to level up faster. So deduction is what you want to go do first. And then I would say something like vitality. That I always go after health upgrades first, because I think that makes games a little more balanced. Engineering, you're going to need to get to engineering level 6 at least for a trophy that has you hack a turret. You use it against enemies, so there's a trophy for that. You got to get to level 6 of engineering, and then everything else is kind of unnecessary. Focus allows you to slow down time with certain settings, so that is helpful. Armor, upgrade your defense, that helps. But then there's like scanning and combat and psychology, and those like combat gives you like upgrades to your damage output, but really those last 3 are like the last places you're going to dump your points, so your skill points. So deduction, vitality, engineering, focus, armor, those are the ones that if you play, you're even moderately good at the game, you should be able to upgrade all of those by the end of it. So just in general, my only real disappointment was like I said, there are a few technical glitches in the cinematics, just kind of like you can see like some glitching effects, and like I said, characters kind of like moving positions on screen whenever you watch the cinematic. But really, by the end of the game, with everything I was doing with the upgrades and the infinite or the auto reloads, game was super easy. The final boss was no sweat. It was like they had a good story, and the twist at the end was, even if I figured it out, I still appreciated it. But the final boss was super easy. And I guess that's one of the drawbacks of being a badass like RoboCop and having these upgrade passes, is that if you upgrade the right way and you're being smart about it, you're basically it's a cakewalk at the end of the game. So. But you're like a one-man walking army, which honestly you're kind of gonna one as RoboCop, so really not a lot of complaints with the game. It's just super fun. So it was, and like I said, you don't need to be a RoboCop fan to enjoy it. So I enjoyed getting the Platinum Trophy, and I do have 2 other games downloaded for PlayStation Plus, and I didn't know if Jeff or really anybody on the panel had any kind of expertise on these or wanted to give me hints on where I should go. The first game is Blueprints, and then the second game is Arcade Paradise. Does anyone have any thoughts on either one of those games, or?
Arcade Paradise, is that the one where your family's running the laundromat?
Yeah, and you turn into an arcade.
Yeah, that's a great game. I have not fallen down the Blueprints hole like everyone else has. Okay.
Because it's on top of the so Sony has got on the PSN now their editor's choice picks, and that's at the top of the list.
So V has fallen down the Blueprints rabbit hole. My friends have fallen down the Blueprints rabbit hole. It looks really interesting. The art style I like, and I could see maybe it's a type of game I might try, but I don't know. I got so much else I'm playing.
Yeah, I got you. Oh, Jeff, question.
Yes, sir.
Dave the Diver, when's that DLC coming out? Do you know?
They did the DLC.
Oh, it's out now?
The Godzilla one, it was time locked.
No, there's a new one coming.
Yeah,
is there?
year.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a
major update.
It's an update that includes Yakuza-based stuff.
Oh, I don't know.
For what, the Pirate Yakuza game that just came out?
Yeah.
I don't think they've announced the release date, have they?
Okay, just curious.
Because... Oh, wait. Is that Ichiban's Holiday?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
I was struggling for the name.
That came out in April.
Okay.
Yeah, you can get it on Steam. It's $7.
Dave the Diver. Because Jeff, when you go to like the fish farm where you have pools of fish, there's the two bottom portions that aren't used for anything, and I've always wondered what the hell are those used for, and I guess Ichiban's Holiday will probably answer one of those at the very least.
Okay.
But
I did not realize that was out. Okay. Well, I gotta go, guys. It's been a great podcast.
I was actually surprised that you weren't talking about Dave the Diver at all, because you came on several times. That was the one thing you were talking about, how much you loved that game.
Yes, but you have to understand it came out on April 10th. From January through the middle of March, I crunched like I haven't crunched since my 20s, and this totally upfront, self-imposed. Work did not expect me to. I got to actually lay down some code and do some performance work and stuff for a demo that was done at NVIDIA's conference in the middle of March. And also I was prepping for Game Developer Conference because both of those shows run the same week. And actually I was out in California and I bounced between San Francisco and Santa Clara at least once that week. So I was not aware of a lot of gaming industry news leading up through March and into early April. I just bought it, so I'll be playing it later.
You hear that, Tricky? NVIDIA, not NVIDIA. Just making sure.
Listen, don't mess with my New York accent.
Matt is also from the north.
I've heard other people from New York say it right, so you know.
All right, stop picking on me, okay?
All right, well, I'm picking on you to know what you've been playing.
No.
Only if you stop saying Mario.
Mario.
Under that condition only.
Mario. Playing Days Gone Remastered. Playing Assassin's Creed Shadows. I was getting annoyed today. I know I said this on the show before, but there's things in video games that annoy me, and one of those things is when you open a door that hasn't been opened in 500 years, and there's enemies behind that door. Explain that to me, please.
Or you play a Fallout game and supposedly power armor is the rarest thing on Earth, and you're going up and you're guessing 6-letter passwords that no one has been able to crack in 300 years, and before you know it, you have about 4 warehouses full of 400 pieces of power armor. Or you go down into a dungeon that hasn't been visited in 1,000 years, and all the candles are lit. This is just a thing.
Yeah, or how 9mm handguns can damage RoboCop. It's just you gotta suspend your disbelief for some degree.
Video game logic.
And then I played in a beta, Arc Raiders. I really
make a post about that one.
Say again?
You made a post about that one.
Yeah.
What is that?
The best way I can describe it's open world. I was getting a lot of Division / Last of Us vibes from it. Not in the there's zombie creatures running around, but just that apocalyptic. I don't know the release date, but the beta actually ends today, so I'm a little upset that I'm recording with you guys because I wanted to play it a little bit more, but the show calls.
Oh, just go.
No. I mean, if I could be on the show and not play Arc Raiders, just like you're on the show and not playing Dave the Diver, I think I could sacrifice. That look like just like I'm regretting my decision now.
You don't know that I'm not playing Dave the Diver right now.
Yeah, he agreed to be on the show before he knew Dave the Ichiban's Holiday was out.
That's true.
Comment from the Peanut Gallery. Will says, "Stop picking on Tricky. His accent is yours
my
too."
My ally
Maddie.
is off. I'm not playing Dave the Diver.
Well, my Steam Deck is off, but I'm not playing anything. Anyways, Will, this has less to do about accent than as opposed to pronouncing our guest company the proper way.
Right and wrong, good and evil.
No, it's not my company.
It is your company. It's solely owned and operated by Jeff, not Jensen. Jensen is peanuts compared to.
Yeah, don't I wish.
But yeah,
I don't.
Going back to Arc Raiders, I like it. I'm hearing it's gonna be free to play when it comes out, so definitely check it out. Yield, I remember you saying that you were interested in it, and then when I told you about it, you're like, I don't even know what the hell that is.
Are you sure?
Well, I don't remember. I don't remember it, and I looked the trailer up.
God,
But before
it's an
you
extraction shooter. Ugh.
Yeah, it's an
And I don't,
extraction.
even from the trailer, I'm just kind of like, I don't remember this.
I distinctly remember when it came out. You said, "Ooh, that's interesting. I'm going to keep an eye on that."
I'm not calling you a liar. I'm just like, I don't remember it, but
That's fine.
I need to see more of it.
Yeah, I'm going deep into Assassin's Creed Shadows. But come the 27th of this month, I may be taking a few weeks off the shows because the new DLC for the Division's coming out, and I'm really excited about that. Yeah, that's it.
So take off work and ask off work and be on the show.
I'm already on vacation.
A Rebellion game? Oh, I have to look at it even more now.
I'm already taking vacation. I was actually supposed to be on vacation from work this week because I was supposed to go to PAX, but I switched it.
Are you not going to PAX?
I am not going to PAX this year.
You are not going to PAX East?
No, I didn't go last year either.
Wasn't PAX East earlier this?
No, it's this week.
PAX? I don't know. All right, what else have you been playing, Tricky?
That's it. That's all I've been playing. Well, the other thing I've been playing is cursing out my Android because they did an UI update and it's breaking a lot of people's phones.
Mine is still operating just fine. Thanks.
Which Android do you have?
The
Data.
Samsung, the Samsung Ultra S22.
Oh, it's your UI update's coming soon.
Good for that. Anyways, for me, I have been playing a couple different games. One game called Make Way. It is a multiplayer racing game where each round that you race, you and your friends who are playing, up to 6 players, get to choose a piece of track to add to the circuit. Then you get to race on that, and then once that round is done, it tabulates your points. Then you get to choose other tracks and continue making the circuit longer and longer until it's like 5 or 6 rounds, or until I think you get 4,000 points. And that you get to add different things to the track, like a speed bump or a turbo boost. But you can also put that turbo boost at the onset of a sharp turn, which would end up throwing your enemies off. It's a lot of fun. It was like $15 and well worth it.
What's this called?
Make Way.
Because it sounds fun.
It is. It's a fun party game. I don't know if it's on any other systems, but when in the world of $80 Mario Karts, you want a combat racer, I'm good with spending $15.
It's on Steam and Xbox.
Nice. Also putting more time into MechWarrior 5 Clans because new DLC comes out this month. I'm still trying to go through what is that called? Yes, you said it earlier, Jeff, and I'm very jealous of your 3025 poster.
About 3 months ago, I went and I got the box art for Fighter Duel Pro out of a tube that it's been sitting in for 3.5 decades because I just never got around to framing it. And that Battletech poster slid out, and I didn't know I had one. And I even contacted the artist that did that, and he's like, I don't even have one of those. I'm like, I'm going to get it all framed. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I have a lot of Battletech stuff. I've got a number of books. I've got the MechWarrior 4 boxes with all the DLC packs, which is why I'm excited, because this month, supposedly, the DLC for MechWarrior 5 Clans comes out featuring Clan Ghost Bear, and it's with that going to bring them with new mechs and variants. So I'm excited for that. So I want to get through the rest of the game to be able to go with that guilt-free. Also put in some additional time to Monster Hunter Wilds. This week was the introduction of what's known as the Arch-Tempered Ray Dow quest. It's an event quest. It's a limited time quest. It comes with its own armor. So my friends and I went in, beat this monster up a number of times to get the certificates we needed to make the full armor set. So we're good on that. And then if my thing would update, yes, I have been spending more time in Oblivion, where I actually played and entered Oblivion this time. And it's in a game like where I'm playing Skyrim, and kind of like Alex said it earlier, where you're playing Skyrim for the 50th time, and you know those systems, you know how everything works. I never played the original Oblivion. So that's why I went to get this one. And as I'm playing through, I'm having a blast. Just learning things again, going on quests that I've never experienced before. I didn't want to go at this point and play the old game. I wanted to experience it in a way that it kind of is meant for it. So it's nice that they went back and remastered it, even though this is kind of a mix between a remake and a remaster. New textures, new balancing. It's not just a glow up like they did with The Last of Us. So I'm very happy with it. And it's exciting. I'm exploring, I'm just enjoying my time with the game. And that's my goal. But that is what I've been playing this week. We'll keep it short and simple because we still got a lot of news to get through. But before we even get to the news, Tricky, do we have a trophy rarity update?
Yes, I'm going to go through this as quick as I can because there's a lot of news. Market Frazier extends his lead as the top of Division 1 after scoring 160 points this week. Pee Wee follows in second with 79 points behind with 1,555. Rick stays third with 1,280, but Diego is closing the gap on the top three, moving on to 1,240 points. Yield, you dropped a spot to seventh, scoring 32 points this week, and is now on 798 points. Tricky also lost a spot and finds himself in the drop zone. He had 16 points, is on 293. Alex is on 285 after scoring 21 points this week. Tricky is in the drop zone courtesy of Daryl, leapfrogging him after scoring 17 points and is on 294, so he's only 1 point ahead of me right now. Big Bernard OB sits in 16th place with 204, following a 13-point increase. There were also moves up in the leaderboard for California Wayne and Me Goats a Lot. In Division 2, the top four all remain the same. Doc Chicken leads the way with 1,836 points, followed by Psychiatrist with 1,090, and CJ's on 1,074. Dodge Williams is in fourth, scoring only 8 points this week, and is long off the promotion spots with 676 points. Dupes suffered a big decay after netting the Oblivion Plat last week. He lost 187 points and drops from 7th to 12th. There are positional gains for the grounded gamer Ilford Hellfire, Murray 2011, Nightmare, The Big Don, and Darth Knight 82. The top scorer in Division 1 was Frazier with 160, and Doc Chicken's top score was with Division 2 was with 60. The rarest trophies of the week are Darth Knight for the Plat in Phasmophobia at 2.85, Diego at 4.62 in Forza Horizon 5, Doc Chicken in Age of Empires 2 at 5.35, California Wayne for the Plat in WWE 2K24 at 5.41, and finally the fifth spot, Ifrit Hellfire for the Plat in Star Ocean, the Divine Force at 5.88. Plat shoutouts this week: Marky Frazier for Mortal Kombat 1 and Days Gone Remastered, Rick in Mass Effect 2, Diego in Post Trauma and Prototype 2, Nitro in Road 96 and Pick a Pix Color 2, Me Goats a Lot in Oblivion, California Wayne in Car Mechanic Simulator 2021 and WD 2K24, Ilfred Hellfire in Star Ocean Divine Force, Nightmare in Classic Pool, Dark Knight with the rest Plat of the Week in Phasmophobia, and Yield got the Plat in Submerged Hidden Depths, and Alex in RoboCop Rogue City. That is it.
Okay. Thank you guys for the update. Appreciate it. Keep it coming. We are going to go through lightning round on the news because we got a lot this week. So as we tend to do whenever I'm reminded, because, I don't keep track of this, is the first podcast of the month. We cover the games being added to the PlayStation Plus service. And this month, as of May 6th, you are going to be getting Ark Survival Ascended, Balatro, and Warhammer 40k Bolt Gun, all of which I believe are good games. I know there's some things going on with Ark. I don't know which version of Ark this is because there's a bunch of them. But if you like fighting with dinosaurs and base building, give it a look. Balatro is the indie darling. You saw it on all of the Game of the Year lists last year. That has taken the gaming world by storm. So definitely look into Balatro as far as if you like card-based games. It's not poker, but it uses poker cards. It's interesting. V is very much into that game. And Warhammer 40K bolt gun, a typical Warhammer experience. It's, if you like Warhammer and you like Space Marines, give it a go. Gonna move on to the next article, of which Microsoft decides that it's going to raise all of its prices on its consoles, on its games this holiday season. Reported on by various different outlets when it first broke out. But basically, all of the consoles are going up. So, for instance, the Series S 512 gigabyte system is going up $80. The 1 terabyte system is going up, what was that, 50, 60, $80. The Xbox Series X digital is going up $100. The Xbox Series X proper is going up $100. The 2 terabyte system is going up by $130. And then the biggest news, kind of, that's really been the big thing, is that starting in this holiday season, their proper first-party games are, for the most part, not getting confirmation on exactly which ones, are going to cost $80. But, you know, some of the articles talk about how that's going to include Fable, the Perfect Dark reboot, and a couple other things out there.
Thanks, Nintendo.
So I want to talk about this.
I've talked about this on the show before.
RGT 85 put out a video, and Will's in chat, and him and I were arguing about this because people are out there saying thanks Nintendo. First and foremost, I was out there saying, wait, who the fuck is blaming Nintendo? Because when you're looking at this, look what Sony did at the start of this generation, raising games up to $70.
Sony didn't do that first. Xbox did that first.
Yes, they fucking did.
Xbox did it first.
No, they fucking did not. What game did they do it for?
At the launch of the Series X, they came out and they said games were going to start costing $70.
Yeah, and then they didn't do it until Sony fucking did it with their Sony tax.
Bullshit.
Ubisoft, I think, was the first third party to say it, but I don't remember if they said it before Sony or Microsoft.
Actually, I'm not defending Ubisoft here, but I think it was actually EA that did it first.
I don't doubt that. But we need to keep in mind, team sizes on AAA games now compared to 30 years ago are probably a factor of 10 greater. It's not uncommon to have 300, 400, 500 people working on a title. Games have cost $60 for 3 decades. And at $60 right now, you're paying less than 50% of what that game is worth if you take the inflation from 1995 through now. $60 in 1995 is close to $135 to $140 right now. Games have beat inflation for 3 decades. An $80 game is not out of the realm of possibility, especially because the cost of making that game have certainly gone up far greater than inflation. Now, I noticed the last item you have down here deals with a release date being moved out a year. I will guarantee you that one of the reasons that that date is being moved out a year is so that they can reasonably charge $100 for it.
Well, we said that was going to happen back
It's not that I'm sure the creatives are happy that they get time to polish it and other things, but it's not like Rockstar missed the boat by 12 months in a release date. They're waiting for a market change. And they have the money to sit on a reasonably finished product until the market gets to where they want it to be.
And it's also worth noting, back in the mid-90s, games routinely cost $70, $80, $90 back then.
Nintendo 64 cartridges were ridiculous.
And then now I have Will in chat saying, who cares what Sony did? Nintendo did it last, so they catch the heat. Sony and Microsoft both look up to Daddy Nintendo, so if Nintendo can do it, the other two can feel justified. Here's my answer to that. Nintendo is doing it at the onset of a new generation of hardware. They're not doing it for their current generation of hardware. And in that aspect, it's not even every game. Yes, Super Mario Kart World is going to be $80. How much is Donkey Kong Bonanza? $70. So it's not a guarantee that every game is going to be that $80 mark. And I also have been saying what Jeff said. It sucks, but yes, games have beaten inflation year after year, and it was the Xbox 360 and PS3 era that we saw those game prices go up to $60, and they've stuck there until the Series X and the PS5. So Nintendo's out here just going on saying, listen, for high quality games, just like they did with Tears of the Kingdom, saying, hey, Tears of the Kingdom is going to be our first $70 game. But we're not going to do that for every game. We're going to do it for the games that they deserve to be that price. So people are out here saying, well, thanks, Nintendo. No, it wasn't fucking Nintendo. It was Microsoft going, we're analyzing our core business and we're going to do it. Now, the thing I will say is when they're in dead last, increasing the price on their hardware may not work out for them in the best way, but I'm not a financial analyst for them.
I may take some heat from this, which I don't care. I consider myself to have somewhat thick skin when it comes to you got to when you're a podcaster or you put yourself out there in a public arena. Do we really think that Nintendo games cost as much to make as the top tier Sony and Microsoft first party games?
Yes.
There's no. Oh, okay. Because there's not as much marketing. There's not really mocap to do. Yes, they have voice actors, but
quality assurance. The quality level on Nintendo games is, on my experience, much higher than other studios. And that takes a lot of effort and time.
The fixed costs are going to... Now, granted, you have to look at fixed costs based on Eastern Europe and Japan because salaries are a lot lower over there. But within the region, the fixed cost of making the game, the facilities, the hardware, the software, the licenses, all of that is the same regardless. And I guarantee you that the list of credits that you will see for Mario Kart World will be minutes long. Just because the games run on smaller hardware and are cute doesn't reduce the complexity and what it takes to make them any at all.
Jurassic Park is saying the higher they set the prices, the more that it'll just wait for a sale from now on. And, that's a valid strategy.
I'm actually excited. Well, I shouldn't say excited because I'm out of the industry, but back when games were $60, I think it was around Saints Row. It was either Saints Row 3 or Saints Row 4. Rainbow, under the THQ umbrella, released ATX versus. It was like a motocross versus four-wheeler game, and it wasn't AAA. And they tried to release it at like the $35 to $40 mark because it was about a $35 to $40 game. Everyone branded it shovelware, and nobody bought it because at $60, there's very little range for price differentiation between your AAA product and your not AAA product. And that's why a lot of people have gone to Steam and fallen into indies because Steam is much more price competitive on things that aren't shrink wrapped in stores. An $80 price point means that you could do a mid-tier game at $60 and people are still going to see it as a quality product, not as a piece of shovelware. And so maybe you're not going to see every Xbox game at 80. And also Microsoft is going to continue to push people more and more towards Game Pass. But now with the upper tier still not beating inflation from 30 years ago, still only about 60% of what inflation should have it pegged at, the fact that you can be able to get more games at different price points means that your purchasing value will actually go farther.
Yield, you've been quiet on this.
So I've noticed, at least with Sony, they're dropping games at 70, but there are a handful of games that are still coming out at 40, and they're going to support the heck out of it with DLC. So that's where I think they're planning on making up, some of their income. We want to poke fun at Microsoft raising their prices, but I mean, everybody has done it. So, I mean, unless Microsoft was going to try to use that to their advantage as kind of like, hey, look, we're cheaper than everybody else. It's kind of par for course right now. So I agree with you, Matt, with the it doesn't seem like they're selling a lot of hardware, so jacking their hardware prices up. But at the same time that you're saying you're going to do it at the holiday, you could get a rush of people buying it now before the holiday to not pay the price. So I'm not a fan of it, but it's kind of the world we live in now.
Darth Knight in chat saying he agrees with me. Microsoft should be the last to charge extra for their consoles, and that Jeff's right, games are going to have to go up. As I pull up a number of the Switch 2 games, as I mentioned, Donkey Kong Bonanza is $70, Mario Kart World $80. Then there's a whole bunch of re-releases. Cyberpunk 2077, the Ultimate Edition is going to be $70. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 versions $80. Daemon X Machina Titanic Scion is going to be $70. Let's see what else. Guardians of Azuma is $70. Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar is going to be $80. Kirby and the Forgotten Lands Switch 2 edition plus Starcross World is $80. So some of these things are the base game that was on the Switch plus upgrades and additions that they're adding in there. So again, there's no set in stone policy. They're going to change it. I was really tired of people sitting down saying Microsoft made their change thanks to Nintendo. Well, Nintendo's doing the exact same thing that Sony and Xbox did at the onset of this generation, is increasing their prices to catch up. And there's some experts out there that says, maybe they should have gone up about $5 every 5 years to kind of keep that creep going. But no, instead, here we are with a $20
you have to do the
price
big
shot.
step. Yep.
All right. To be fair, I was half joking when I said thanks Nintendo, because I figured this was coming regardless of anything. I kind of felt like this was coming a long time before Nintendo even announced their $80 games. Jeff kind of alluded to it earlier, and I kind of said too, like, games are still cheaper than in the mid 90s. Like, it does sound like a lot now, but I remember distinctly buying Mortal Kombat 2 for like $90 back then, or for the Super Nintendo. Like,
yeah, I don't care what version of game that game you play. That is not a $90 game.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Mortal Kombat 2, but looking back, it's like, man, $90 for that game.
Darth Knight says he'll be mad if Madden's $80.
And before now, a lot of instead of the $5 creep thing that probably should have happened, back when people were still going into physical stores to buy their interactive entertainment, a lot of those costs could get buried in the small number of whales that always paid for the $150, $200 collector's edition with a couple of plastic feelies and a bigger box. Now that we've mostly switched to digital delivery of games, yes, you can still go get them. The concept of being able to make up some of those differences by people buying the collector's edition, that's not a viable solution anymore. And so then everybody gravitated towards games as a service. And as we've figured out, there's only a finite player base for every games as a service game. And so it's the old MMO roulette wheel of the 90s all over again at that point. So really, they've tried alternate revenue streams to keep the price down. They haven't panned out. They've either gone away because of shopper finickiness about where they buy things, or they realize that the market isn't big enough to try other things. Loot boxes are problematic for any number of reasons. So you could look at it as raising the prices is actually the last thing that they tried to do. And so if you want to keep getting, GTA 5 with the marketing when it came out was close to $1 billion product with 2,500 people working on it. You have to assume that GTA 6 is more than $1 billion and probably has closer to about 5,000 people working on it. Well, you can't make the math on that game work out at $60. It just won't anymore.
The rumor is that they spent $2 billion in development of that game.
I
was going to double both numbers.
Well, you do have like the digital currency that does help them make more money for like their online, because the online aspect of that, the online multiplayer, has helped keep that game afloat. And they do have the digital currency that you can buy in.
Yes.
So,
but they also completely fell flat on their face trying to do the online game after all the money they put into Red Dead Redemption 2. And that was a super expensive game. And that never panned out online. And so they have had some losses.
I'll correct you slightly there, Alex. It's not that the money kept the game afloat. The money kept Rockstar afloat. Because
it more kept people playing the game.
Yeah, yes. But also it kept them engaged in spending money, which allowed Rockstar to put $2 billion plus into GTA 6. Which we're just going to skip ahead a little bit and get this out there. And obviously, by now, everybody will have heard that Grand Theft Auto 6 is now scheduled for May 26, 2026. There's been multiple articles. Even Jason Schreier of Bloomberg fame came out a couple months ago and said, anybody I'm speaking to says that fall release window is not realistic. So it's interesting. Nice to have this out there now that there's a date. I assume that date's going to get moved at some point. So whatever. I think the bigger story here is with GTA 6 getting moved out of 2025, that does free up this year. And there's been some bangers for a different Game of the Year contest. And we'll get that a little bit later in some of the questions. But yeah.
Another fun thing about them moving, and Rockstar's done this before. They left it sitting there at the fall window, and then they sat back and they watched all these other AAA games move their release window into next year because they didn't want to lose out for Christmas. And so now there's actually, if you look at the schedules, there's a very big hole of releases right around Christmas time because no one wanted to go up against GTA 6. And so is it going to be a bad Christmas? Are people going to pull their dates back in? It's very hard to pull a date back in once you've moved it because you've rearranged things with the publisher, with Microsoft, with Sony. You've given your employees extra time to do things and they've scoped it. So we could be looking at a fairly dry AAA Christmas now.
Which I'm fine with. As I said, this year has already had some really good games thrown in. So
I do have a question.
My wallet will appreciate it.
Jeff may be the only person who can answer this, or maybe we all can, but maybe Jeff more definitively than others. Is this the first time we've had a software increase twice in the same generation as far as price goes? Because we went from 60 to 70 at the beginning, and now with Microsoft taking it to 80, that's two bumps in the same generation. Is that the first time that's happened?
Probably, but we're also well out of the range of a generation only being 5 years, which it used to be like clockwork. And so it would make sense that there would be multiple price bumps within a generation now. I mean, the original Switch is coming up on 9 years old. It's been out forever. I believe not the newer one, but the PS5 and the series, they're coming up on 6 years at this point, I think, or longer.
It'll be 5 years.
It'll be 5. See, generally at this point, we'd all be saving up to get our new consoles at Christmas. We'd know all about them, and it doesn't happen anymore. I wouldn't doubt that this generation goes 8 or longer. And given that Microsoft is pushing Game Pass, and my LG TV has been telling me all week long that now I can do Xbox streaming from my library on my LG TV because they added the app, I don't know that Microsoft is prepared to move into a post-hardware world, for sure. Well, they've been laying that groundwork for a long time.
In the wildly speculative gaming news corner this week, there were 2 articles of interest, and one of them, I didn't add them here, just throwing this in here for conversation's sake. One of them was saying that the PS6 is set to launch next year. And I was like, fucking what?
Yeah.
And add in, somebody else said Half-Life 3 is in a playable state and due out in the fall. I was like, fuck you.
I saw that one. I was like, no, what?
Fuck off. That's such bull. Their source, I think, is smoking something.
Is anybody surprised though? We haven't really seen or heard anything like rumors wise for the next generation of consoles.
What do you mean? We have the next generation of console coming up.
We've had enough rumors about the PS6 for the longest time now. You can't have them burning like fuel all the time. At some point, there has to be like some valleys to that where we're not talking about it.
All right. Anyways, moving on from the speculative gaming news corner to the sad gaming news corner, and 2 articles we got.
Can I throw out another question I'm wondering about?
You make it quick.
Yeah. So, at what point does the rising cost of games, because we know that different companies have put out games, AAA games that they put a lot of money into, and they said disappointing returns. At what point are those kind of games hurt, and we start to see studios close because they don't hit their marks, because people, we know Jeff has explained it that inflation, the cost of games, stuff needs to go up. But the perception of what you're getting for an $80 game when you were once paying, $60, $70 for games, whether it's legit or not, those games should cost that much. The perception by the public, when does that start to hurt, particularly those AAA games?
It was
2 years ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we look at all the layoffs we did, all the news stories we did about layoffs in the last year and a half.
Okay, well, does that get worse? Does that get worse now?
2 years, yes.
Well, if you're Electronic Arts or Polygon, yes.
It depends on how
Good job, Matt.
It depends on how you look at it. Does it get worse for people only wanting to do AAA? Yes. Does it get worse for the industry as a whole, or does it finally put the industry back on the track where smaller teams can innovate and do things and not think that to make a viable product you have to make a military shooter or a sports game? We used to do whatever we wanted in the games industry. The indie scene thrives on that stuff. There will be more smaller indie teams that are going to live and die by early access and not tie themselves to the big lump sum payments from the major publishers. Is AAA going away? No, absolutely not. Will smaller teams in indie thrive because of all of the layoffs and the fact that money isn't as free as it used to be? Absolutely, yes. And overall, I'm going to say it's a better thing for gaming as a whole.
This isn't going to be your grandpa Sony anymore, because obviously Sony being so focused on AAA and putting out those movie quality games, I mean, they're going to have to step away from that a bit, because
Jeff,
or find a better way to do it.
Jeff, and with all the layoffs that we had, do you think that do you think that's more contributed to the fact that the games have a bigger budget, or is it because we were coming out of the post-pandemic and that was a factor as well?
Investment dried up. A lot of games were built on the back of foreign investment when money was free. That amount of investment, that pool of money, doesn't exist anymore because now borrowing money costs money. The days of zero to low interest rates around the world dried up essentially after the pandemic. So you don't see these overseas companies just investing in everything and then games getting built on the back of that. You have to justify your existence. And it's going to be hard for these big studios. The other thing I'd heard is a lot of these studios, the smarter ones, had a war chest. And then these C-suite type people that have nothing to do with gaming come in and they're like, no. You should actually be running debt because debt is healthy. We should invest all that money in software as a service because then we'll make our money back on micropayments. And that happened to a number of not Helldivers games. And then the studios had nothing to fall back on. And the suits bounce up higher in the organization because look what I did. And then the creatives behind the desk actually making the games are the ones that always take it in the shorts. And those people are sick of it. Along with the layoffs of the past 2 years, the amount of unionization in the industry has gone through the roof. And the number of people that are not going to the big studios, but going to the smaller studios to do innovative indie games is growing rapidly. Okay. Going to Game Developer Conference last year, and after all of the layoffs, I almost didn't get on the airplane because I thought it was just going to be doom and gloom. Last year and this year were the two biggest GDCs they've ever had. Each one was over 30,000 people. Wow. It's ridiculous how big they've gotten. I think when I joined the board in 2009, it was still around the 18 to 20,000 mark. Yes, there are some people that have been out of jobs. Yes, there are some people, I know people at Volition that when Volition closed, they got a job and then now they've been laid off of that job and have gotten a second job. There's some churn. There's absolutely some churn, but there's also a lot of opportunity for smaller teams to do more right now.
All right.
So, we'll just briefly cover this, but we've got a ton more stuff to do, especially a lot of listener questions this week. And we're just going to cover real quick in the sad gaming news corner. Electronic Arts lays off hundreds. They canceled a Titanfall game. So about 100 people.
Titanfall 3, apparently.
Well, it wasn't, but it was, and to use Jeff's discussed earlier, it was a Titanfall extraction shooter.
Yes.
So there was that. Polygon was sold to Valnet and hit with massive layoffs too. So just as a note, that is still stuff going on. And I think the thing that gets me the most is that if we're going to complain about $80 games, the complaint there is I don't think that extra money is going back to the devs.
No.
Just my 2 cents.
And Polygon is going to turn into your AI written tutorial only Shadow of Kotaku in very short order. Valnet is not a we relish human writers and take care of them sort of organization.
Anyways, as I mentioned, we have a ton of listener questions this week.
Time to check my social media.
So we'll kind of do this.
I have a listener question.
Go ahead.
Why do we keep using that?
Because Tricky doesn't know that I edited it out on my weeks that we edited it.
Oh,
It's
okay.
funny.
All right.
So Will writes in and kind of hits on the subject we were talking about. When GTA 6 finally drops and is priced $99, how many of you all are buying? I won't.
No.
I'll wait.
Yep.
I wouldn't buy GTA 6 if it was $49. I'm out on those games.
Fuck you, Rockstar.
You know, and I don't know that it's just games. I actually, on like Thursday, checked Fandango to see what the crowds are going to be like for like the not 3D but biggest screen in town of ABC Thunderbolts. And for the 4 o'clock and 10 o'clock show, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, there was a double row sold right up the middle of each theater, and the rest of it was vacant for opening weekend on the biggest screen you can get in town. People just aren't spending a lot of money on entertainment right now.
Well, I mean, the prices of everything have gone through the roof, so people are sitting on their money.
I was in an IMAX theater last night for Thunderbolts, maybe a third full.
I want to see it. Is it good? They're saying it's the best movie since Endgame.
I want to see it too, but what I'm pointing out is that people are not going out for location-based entertainment. They're not spending AAA money. They're not spending opening weekend money to see a movie because, good Lord, 2 people going to a movie with 2 drinks and a thing of popcorn is going to weigh out at $45 these days.
That's cheap. It's $100 out here.
Right, and the movies used to be the cheap thing to go do. And so is the MCU still viable if they don't make the development of that movie back this weekend? It's the same story, just a slightly different industry.
That's why I go to matinees now.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
well, if anyone has seen it yet, I would like some feedback on the Until Dawn movie because that is out now.
I kind of know somebody who is in development of that, so I will refrain.
Okay, well, I guess I'm not spending that money then.
That said, the next question is from Dan Tucker. How's 2025 year-to-date stacking up against 2023 through the end of April? So take 2023 January through April and 2025 January through April. And how's that looking for you game-wise?
I'd love to answer that, but I couldn't tell you one game that released the time period in 2023.
So for me personally, this has been like the best year since I've had a 5. So take that with a grain of salt, I guess. I mean,
are we talking about just plain games, or are we talking about new games? Because a lot of the stuff. Oh, sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
New games. Like how's that looking for you?
Me buying new games these days looks not great because I'm just playing. A lot of what I'm playing is like older games that other people have really enjoyed, but I'm just now getting to, like RoboCop and like last year, Dave the Diver. I think the last game that I purchased brand new. Well, actually, no, I bought Tales of Iron 2 brand new but that's obviously a smaller team, smaller game, a little bit cheaper in price. But the last like full MSRP game that I bought that was like $70 or $60 was Helldivers, and that was a year ago. Like
right. And that was 40.
Oh, okay, that's right. Okay, never mind then. Thank you for that reminder. But yeah, a lot of what I'm playing is on PlayStation, the PlayStation Network, and older games that people have recommended. I'm not buying a lot of the new games because there's just nothing out there that interests me enough to spend that money on.
I'm so glad I funded your gaming for the last year and a half.
Well, it's gonna go. I'm gonna go maybe dark when when my PlayStation Premium subscription runs out because I don't know if I want to be doing that. I don't know. Who knows? I guess I'm gonna have to re-up because I'm not really wanting to buy anything new these days.
Maybe you can re-up your plus. You don't have to re-up into the catalog.
That's where he's
That's good,
That's
yeah.
where he's played all his games from, though.
Yeah, that's where most of my games are coming from, the PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium catalogs. Although RoboCop was from Essential this month.
Yes.
Black Chaos says he's on that RoboCop 2. Hunter Houston's in chat saying 2025 will have one of the best years in games. But Hunter, you also missed about 20 minutes ago where Jeff and I did justify $80 games. So just be aware. I want to go back and look at that.
I'm looking at the releases on January through March of 2023, and there's not a lot here.
I
I
couldn't remember one game that was released then.
Dead
that
Space,
Hogwarts game,
Dead Space remake,
which
was awesome.
Hi-Fi Rush.
Yes,
Good
Hi-Fi
game.
Rush, Dredge, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
But that
I
was
just played in December.
But that was
Yeah.
wasn't that like
That was-
a $40 game now?
yeah, and that did right under the It took a while for that one to actually get the burn where everyone started talking about it. But that was spring 2023. Kerbal Space Program 2 is listed here, but it's in black, not red. That may have been one of the.
I thought that was a failed launch.
Well, I don't know that I don't know the failure happened in 2023. I thought it was last year. But they had a bunch of release dates on that game before it came out, so that may be why this one doesn't have a link. But overall, Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition, a remake. GoldenEye 007, a remake.
Monster Hunter
Space
Rise.
PC.
Yeah.
Ghostwire Tokyo, which was all right.
Atomic Heart, which is a pretty good first-person shooter, wasn't stellar.
Resident Evil 4 remake.
Right, but there's not a lot of big breakout games in that time frame. So I'm going to say, for me personally, Valheim. Valheim sucked a lot of life out of me. But again, not a $60 game. I'm going to say first 3 months of 2025 are better for me.
What about
Yeah,
I don't know if anybody mentioned it. Monster Hunter Rise came out too. January 20th of 2023.
did that?
January 20th it came out.
Weird, it's not in this list.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I'm on GameSpot.
I'm
And
on
it's not in that.
I'm on the
It's not
gamer.
in the list. Huh.
I just sent you the link to the one I'm looking at.
Monster Hunter Rise was March 26, 2021.
I don't know. This is Monster Hunter Rise for the 4, the 5, the Xbox One, and the Series
Yes.
XX.
Except it originally came out on the Switch.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. And then I look at 2025 and, I can't say that there's been like a ton here either, but there are a couple notable items. Let's see. The hell? Civ 7 came out.
So, right, but
That
Who's
was
put-
kind of
who's put more than a handful of hours in it? Like, nobody dumped 1 million hours into that Civ game yet because it was a bad launch.
so for me. The easy answer is Monster Hunter Wilds came out in February, so that tops pretty much anything and everything else I would have ever played at that same time frame.
Yeah, January is dry this year. It's the Donkey Kong Country remake,
I mean, everybody else got Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Good game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Ooh, I don't.
I'm kind of going with they seem
Kingdom
like
Come
similar.
Deliverance 2 was
Yes,
a solid drop.
and
That takes February up.
and
Wait.
now that kind of leads us to one of the next questions. Was Claire Obscure Expedition 33? Was that a May or an April release?
I think that was in April. We're only 4 days into May, so I think it.
Yeah, okay. So we'll count it as April. But the point being there is it's everybody that is playing it is raving about it.
And
The most notable thing I can say about 2023 is that I played Weird West twice because I love that game. But the fact that I played Weird West twice kind of tells you about 2023 as a whole, just not buying a ton. And to be fair, my favorite game of last year, despite Helldivers, was probably Dave the Diver, which of course is, you know, a game that came out in the previous year. So yeah, that's just my habits. Someone recommends a really good game and I fall in love with it, and it's but from a previous year.
James McCall says Claire Obscuri is game of the year. It's not even close. He's 12 hours in. It just keeps getting better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of good things about that game. And then to your point, yes, Jeff, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, because the first game was kind of a sleeper hit and the second one had a larger hit overall. People are really enjoying it. People are eating well for RPGs this first half of the year.
They really are. Yeah, but no, I'm going to say 2025 is a better opening.
Ross Andrews writes, with the new Helldivers 2 Warbound coming out May 8th, what are you all expecting? Do you think the fight will ever be brought to Super Earth? I am expecting my freaking Flame Dog backpack at some point. Whenever I get that, I'll be happy.
His flaming
Jeff
setup will be
the fight can never go to Super Earth because one of the humans fail.
And that's not an option.
Yeah, where does the game go from that
fail.
point? Yeah.
This is
a Saints Row 4 right there.
I was gonna say, this is coming from the guy that blew up the Earth.
It's really hard to do the sequel.
That's the thing is, even though I still go back to Helldivers for the new war bonds, I don't care about the Galactic War anymore. It just doesn't matter because I know no matter what I do, no matter how much I play, it's never going to end because they're always going to make it that the other faction just for survive.
Well, yeah, because this isn't the first game where if we win or if you lose, we just start a new war.
Right.
But, yeah, with this ongoing, this war will only end when they're not supporting it anymore.
Next question. Daryl writes in and says, can episode 671 of Trophy Wars rival 76 of PlayStation Dead? Only time will tell. Tricky wrote back, it hasn't even been recorded yet, and it's better. So here's the thing.
Oh, here
PlayStation 8 Dead episode 76 had a certain filthy reseller on it, which made it okay. Episode was okay. But we have the esteemed Jeff Hanna. So ultimately, we're automatically better than any other podcast out there.
We're better than that, and we're also better than Fallout 76. But anything is better than Fallout 76.
You know, I've had time. I've had fun times 76.
The lighting in that game.
I make no excuses for the graphical glitching that I've experienced in that game. But at a time that I didn't want to go back and play Fallout 4 or Fallout 3, I said, I just want to go in and experience something new, just like Oblivion Remastered. I'm expecting glitches. I'm expecting bugs. I'm just going to go in expecting a generalized Fallout experience.
With the success of Oblivion, following the crazy success of Skyrim, I can't wait for Bethesda to just become the studio that says, we don't actually need to make new games anymore. We just have to re-release our old games.
They've been doing that for about 25 years now.
They were still making new games. I feel like we're getting into less games.
Fallout 4 is Fallout 3 is Skyrim. Starfield is all of that, but with a patina of boredom.
It's fun going to blank planets. The astronauts went to the moon. They weren't bored. Come on, Todd,
look, we can make a ship that looks like a hot dog. Yeah, nobody cares.
Let's see. Daryl asked a bunch of questions that I'm not going to broach here.
Thank you.
And then Rick says, Teon are the devs of RoboCop Rogue City. They also developed Terminator Resistance and Rambo 3. What movie series should their next game be based on?
John Wick.
Could definitely do that.
They could probably pull that off.
But then you got to pay Keanu. And Keanu ain't cheap.
Keanu is cheap. He rides a subway.
No, you don't. You sit Troy Baker down in front of Keanu movies, and then he pisses Todd. Then he pisses Todd, the Bethesda guy, off so badly because Todd wanted the other actor, and then they put it up to a bunch of A/B testing, and everyone picked Nolan. So you don't need Keanu to have Keanu. We could just do AI Keanu.
I want a good Van Helsing game.
I want a good Van Helsing movie first.
Well, that can follow the game. The movie can be based on the good game.
Yes, because you know what we've learned in the gaming industry over 4 decades is doing the combined releases day and date, that never hurts one side or the other.
No, never.
No. Matrix.
Will is in chat threatening about the thumbnail he's going to make based off of our conversation on the PlayStation 8 Dead podcast. So.
For the record, I never said anything negative.
I didn't know we had a rivalry with them. I thought it was all cool.
I ain't said nothing, so don't be into all this.
Wait. Does Sony thing's taken off enough that there are 2 podcasts that talk about it?
Well, they're just claiming the PlayStation isn't dead.
Oh.
Redbeard Rick says they didn't pay Peter Weller or Arnold or Sly. So my answer to your question, Rick, is the Toxic Avenger.
Oh.
Is that a shooter? Like, would that be? Oh, I guess Rambo's not real. Well, yeah, Rambo would be a shooter.
Rambo's a shooter. No.
Nope.
Let's branch them out into a different genre.
We need to bring back couch co-op and get couples to play. So they need to do Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Matt is the reason for the bad thumbnail this week.
You can thank Daryl for posing the question.
I do want to say, in all seriousness, when I think of a comparable game to compare RoboCop to, I'm not saying it's as good or it's like it, but the situation reminds me of Batman Arkham Asylum, because no one thought that game was going to be good, and then people were pleasantly surprised when it came out. And I feel like RoboCop Rogue City is that exact same thing. Been a while since we had seen RoboCop in anything, and you're putting out a game, it's like, okay, based on an 80s property, oh, how good can this be? You actually play it, oh, damn, it's pretty good. So I feel like the level of surprise is kind of like on par or in the same arena of Arkham Asylum, because you have this popular superhero type character, and it's a licensed game. How good can it be? Oh, it's actually pretty good.
All right. Before we move on, Jeff brought it up, so I just want to ask him, Jeff, where do you fall with the whole AI in video game development conversation? Are you for it? Are you against it?
Answer very carefully, Jeff, knowing what the other side of your business does.
Yeah. No, I've had some discussions about this with some professors at universities. Everybody gets, especially dealing with creatives in the gaming industry. I remembered when normal maps were new, and everyone's like, "That's going to take so long. We're going to lose our jobs because we don't have the time to make the normal maps." There's always pushback. Do I think you're going to sit down and be like, "Hey, make me a first-person shooter," and you're going to start playing a first-person shooter in your browser? Maybe within our lifetimes. Maybe. Do I think it's okay for companies to use procedural generation to aid in building large cities? Yes, I wrote procedural building generators and procedural how to zone out cities for Volition. Saints Row 3 through the end would not exist if we didn't have some level of computer assistance augmenting what the artists were doing. AI is just the next step of that. Do I like the fact that I can have it summarize every email in my inbox? Yes, I really, really do. I think that's awesome. Do I think that I would want to sit down and tell it to model an airplane for me? No, but I was trained on how to do 3D modeling, and so that's what I gravitate towards. That doesn't mean, and before me, people learned how to do models in clay, and a lot of people didn't want to jump from clay to virtual because they were trained on the other thing. I'm of the age where I don't know that I have a dog in this fight, truly. I don't see myself vibe coding up a competitor to Google Chrome before lunch on any given random Tuesday. I like to get down and dirty and actually type the code out and read it and understand what I'm doing with it. But that's what I was taught to do. Who knows what people that are being brought up with AI are going to think is normal? I have no idea what that's going to be like.
The reason
I'm sorry. Do I think the systems are going to get smarter and smarter? Yeah. I think we're just I think we're putting a lot of stock into something that we're just very, very early days on at this point.
The reason I asked is because when I posted that I was going to be streaming the Arc Raiders beta, one of the comments was, because I asked if you're interested in the game, and one of the comments was until they revealed that they used AI for the voices, thus going against the voice actor strike.
And that I think is egregious, because that's not using it to assist you. That's using it to replace somebody. That's using it to replace a skilled human being. And I can understand why people fall on either side of that argument.
It just, I don't want to keep rehashing it, but when Lance Reddick passed away, we had a conversation on the show, and part of that conversation was, would we be upset if Gorilla used an AI voice to play that character in the third game? Providing that the family was okay with it and all that stuff. And it went back and forth of like, would that be okay? Should they just replace the actor? Should they find an actor that can sound like him? I think it's a slippery slope when you start talking about using AI to do voices in games.
Okay, let me ask you this. Was it wrong for, in the past, when an actor has passed away near the ending of a movie or in a trilogy, was it wrong for the studio to tailor the lines that they were going to say to only be things that actor had already spoken, and then gone back and physically spliced together those words to finish the movie out?
See, that's tough, because you could technically say that what they splicing together, the actor actually did. They're not using a computer to regenerate it.
Yes.
So
yeah, it's a hard argument though. Like if I have enough of a voice sample of Lance Reddick that I could have him say the final lines to finish a movie, but I'm not making an entire movie without him, is that okay? But making a whole movie where he's already passed away and I just have the AI voice of him, that's wrong. Like it's no one, and I'm not saying there's a right or a wrong here. It's an ethical dilemma, and so people are going to gravitate to either side of the scale.
Right. All right.
So some comments.
We're keeping this nice and short.
Comes in, says the argument is don't put your personal politics into the game or into anime, and then basically say that that's the true translation. And I don't know how to read your second comment, Hunter. Sorry. So now into something a little more interesting. Our topic of the week.
I'm not doing the sound because I forgot to edit it.
Oh, you better be doing that sound.
Fine.
Toe. Topic of the week.
Why don't you go from toe to ta?
Well, fine then. Fuck you, Matt.
My problem is I do not remember what I said.
You didn't say anything.
You shook your head at me.
You shook your head.
When I was doing that, you were shaking your head, and I was like, all right, motherfucker.
Because the first time I played it, I was just like, oh, what? You should have left what Matt said. It's like, Matt didn't say anything. He just shook his head.
Alrighty. So this article came out late April, and we were originally going to have Jeff on the show on Easter Sunday, and we decided, no, let's not have a show on Easter Sunday. May have been spending some time with family. So, Jeff, I apologize to you for the short notice cancellation for that day.
Jeff,
I had many religious zombie jokes written for that episode, and I had to throw them all away.
Well, don't let that keep me. Yeah, don't let me keep you from.
They only work on one day of the year.
His message literally says, crumples up and throws away all the excellent Christianity zombie jokes I was writing for the show. Why do you torment me like this?
Then, hey, you know what? Next year, Easter 2026, book him. Jeff Han on Trophy Horse.
Okay.
Easter
won't be here.
No, I was about to say Easter won't be on Sunday next year because of the calendar, but no, we know that's not right.
All right.
We don't know that this show will still be there.
Whoa.
You heard it here first,
folks. Jeff, just remember, for episode 1000, you plan to go to Italy with me.
All right.
He's like, okay.
Hey, whatever.
These guys are already bailing out of it, but me and you, we're going to Italy.
I guarantee it'll be a miracle if we make it to 1,000.
You're 2/3 of the way there.
Yeah, and it'll be a miracle if we make it the other 2/3 of the way there.
All right.
Anyway, topic of the week.
So basically,
the topic of the week.
The Strong National Museum has acquired Volition Studio Collections. So a donation made by former Volition staff, including thousands of game builds and some source material, documentations, awards, and props, all of this has been donated to the Strong National Museum, and now their analysts and technicians are working to preserve all of this data to try to make sure that it's, Volition has had a very large imprint on the gaming sphere. And the article even mentions one of my first loved games, Descent, that Volition worked on technically when they were Interplay, but that, Saints Row, obviously Red Faction, things like that. It's just, again, gaming history preservation is kind of a hot topic for me, because too many times companies are allowed to just say, nope, we don't want to put any more money into that, and it kind of fades into obscurity. So for the Strong Museum to get this data, essentially is what it is amazing. I know a couple months ago we talked about another museum getting decades of history. I recently bought into the Electronic Gaming Monthly Compendium Kickstarter because it gave me access to all of the EGM articles and magazines from the 80s till the 2000s. I love having access to all that stuff and seeing it. So for your purpose, Jeff, on this, what are your thoughts on them doing this?
I think I didn't know about this until that article came out. And what I've learned since then is after the studio had gotten shut down, and it was down to like the skeleton crew to basically shut up the facilities, that the acting studio had presented the idea to, I guess, Embracer, and he coordinated gathering all of this and sending it off to the Strong Museum of Play. And I, honest to goodness, hope that the rest of the industry starts to normalize this behavior, because Volition, okay, one, I'm going to correct you on something. Descent is not a Volition product. Never has been. And Volition was never called Interplay. Interplay was the publisher. Before Volition, Matt Koulas and Matt Toshlog ran Parallax Software. Yes. And Descent came from that. And actually, the rights stayed with Parallax because Parallax was an ongoing concern after there was it was an amicable split and Volition formed.
I remember because it was Volition and they formed another studio, and they were originally supposed to be handing off Descent series back and forth. Right.
And then whatever Parallax became did Altered Echo, I believe, on the original 360 era game. But the fact that 3 decades and builds and concept art and mistakes and things that never saw the light of day. And I was there for over half of the studio's history. And so to know that all of that hard work is going to be someplace forever where it can be shown to the public and people get an idea of what was going on within 1990 to 2020 timeframe-ish in terms of game development, and they get to experience those games. Preservation is becoming wildly important to me the later I get in my journey through life. But then just all of the research ability. Like, the games industry doesn't have a history like the movie industry does. And this is a big step towards normalizing that type of maintaining the history of the industry so that the future can continue to be built on top of it. I am extremely happy that this happened, and I am extremely proud of the studio, even in its literally dying days, to do the right thing and not give up and make sure that this stuff got out there for everybody else.
Thank you. Your input definitely is well valued and insightful here, just given your history.
If there was a video game Walk of Fame, like the Hollywood one, Jeff, where do you think it would be?
Right outside of Moscone Center in San Francisco. I don't know. I don't know. And that's one of the other reasons that games, I think, probably surpassed movies, is that you can do them anywhere. You don't need a lot of studio infrastructure. You don't need to go to a place where the weather's nice because you're going to mostly film outdoors. I mean, most of the games that we loved in our childhood, especially those over in Europe, two fucking teenagers with a Timex Sinclair up in their bedroom and who knows where England, right? Like these things can germinate wherever you want. So the Walk of Fame, well, given the game's history, the Walk of Fame would be virtual and online and probably VR, you know. But I don't know that there's a city that you could say this is where video games should be considered based out of.
Alex, your thoughts on the preservation cycle?
I mean, preservation obviously is, and especially when a studio, like, it's massively important for a team like Volition, because team like Volition does not exist anymore, and to be able to preserve that work and the history and everything like that, it's important because we need to be able, it just can't live in memory. There's got to be some kind of place where we can go to kind of look at things, touch things, read about things, and especially, like, I think video game museums should have like playable kiosks, so where you could like play old games from, you know, a team like Volition or something like that. So you know, it's important for every aspect of games to, which is why I get so pissed about Sony, you know, re-uploading games with different trophy lists on the PlayStation Network and saying, hey, this is a new premium game. No, it's fucking not. Start uploading new games. But again, with a team like Volition not there anymore, there needs to be a space for everything they did to be celebrated and remembered and kind of frozen in time.
I had to run out to get visual aids. These are highly detailed Japanese written books that model makers use. So, like, anything you want to know about World War II airplanes, there's a whole series of these. This is an entire book just about airplane cockpits. Kesmai, working on Air Warrior, probably had one of the most detailed, outside of a military base, library on World War II performance data for aircraft from all around the world. Players would go on vacation and dig through military history libraries in Japan because they felt like the Japanese Zero wasn't being adequately represented in the game. Huge library, reference books, literal World War II flight test data from all over the world, just detailed. When Kesmai got shut down by Electronic Arts, you know where I got these? Out of a dumpster behind the building. And it was all I could grab one night. That's not how you do preservation of a studio. And unfortunately, many, many studios do that. Things just get thrown away, hard drives get lost. Volition has shown the industry what everyone should invest in doing.
The problem is when you have, I mean, you brought up EA, clearly a company that is concerned more about money a lot of times than the product they're putting out. The chance of preservation from people with that mindset, people, you know, not people who didn't grow up gaming or loving games as a whole, but people who are out to make money and see the financial power of video games, the likelihood lessens when those people are in charge because they just don't care.
And I get that, and that makes me respect what Volition did all the more because they're showing everybody what the industry should be doing, knowing full well that most of the industry won't do it. And but they still, the last thing that studio did was still be a guiding light. Like, look, we're breaking another boundary right here. We broke physics. We did open world games. We broke the humor in the fourth wall. Now we're breaking the industry's history, and this is what everyone else should do.
And there are small things that companies are doing. Like Nintendo has that, you know, the downloadable app where you can listen to music from Nintendo games. That itself is a smaller form. It's not a big museum with pictures and murals, but it is a form of preservation because you can go and listen to music that you may not have access to otherwise.
Yeah, yeah. And I know that the CEO of Embracer is compiling the world's largest game library, a retro game library, but he's doing that privately. Those are his funds. It's not a public thing. And I've also heard some backlash about that because it's driving the prices of retro games through the roof because he's paying top dollar to get the best things. And so everyone's pricing everything up now. But am I happy that there would be that library somewhere? Yes. I'd prefer if it was in a museum. If he's going to donate it to a museum or make it actually something that everyone else can reference, I'd be happier about it.
Yield, your thoughts on game preservation and, you know, defunct studios now going out there and making sure that their work history is being seen?
Well, this is long overdue. whereas, studios come and go, stuff gets lost. And then you always hear articles pop up here and there of this game that was almost done, and here's the art or the playable demo that someone got to see, but it only ended up somewhere because someone who was walking out the door on day 0 was like, well, I'm taking this with me, and then someone just happened to remember to look at it. Like Jeff said, what Volition is doing is this is what we should be doing to preserve the history of our industry. And it's as everybody's argued over the years about what to do, they've now, laid some groundwork. This is what you need to do if you're no longer in existence. This is what you should do. You learn from your history, good and bad. So if this all goes away, we won't get better. So I applaud it. I like it. More people should do it.
I like it. I love it. I want some more of it. Before we go to Tricky, can I just give another small example of why this is so important?
Sure.
Go. All right. Thanks, Jeff. I was waiting on Matt to get one. So I'm just going to name a studio for a game that I love from a studio, and this very well could have been like Double Fine if Double Fine didn't change their strategies up. But Clover Studio, makers of Okami. Who the fuck ever thinks of Clover Studio? Probably, even though they were part of Capcom, while successful, people really don't think about them. Now we have the Okami sequel coming out. People probably, whenever they think Okami, oh my God, Clover Studios. So much gets so lost to time that a studio like that could just forever be lost without some kind of preservation or notation that, is some kind of historical facts or, this is what the studio did. So you think about all the studios that have been closed, all the studios that have worked on games, how many games we played in our lives. So much will get lost to just the I'm not trying to give a marketing for Ubisoft, but the sands of time where it just becomes incredibly important that we document everything. And there's a place where you can go, probably in Washington, D.C., where all the other museums are. Hey, a Smithsonian for games. Let's get on that.
Well, no, and that's
I don't know why that doesn't exist yet.
No, I talked about it a couple months ago that there's an online walkthrough museum. I got to go back and find it. But that's exactly what it is, capturing decades of gaming history and putting it in digital format so that way people could walk through and see things and pull up articles and look at games. I got to go back and find it, and I'll send it over to you guys. But that's exactly what they're trying to make. Tricky, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with all you guys. What Volition is doing is what should have been happening a long time ago. It's so much, is put on the history of, sports and movies and stuff like that. And there's some kind of a shrine to all of them. Some of these video games, we grew up on, and this is our childhood. And this is the kind of stuff that, should be preserved in the best way possible. I don't think I'm out of the realm by saying video games is one of the top industries in the world right now. It's even bigger than movies in some aspects. This is the kind of stuff that should be preserved and, find a way to get remembered. And I know, Matt, you're saying that, there's an online museum. There definitely should be a physical museum, a brick and mortar one, where people can go in and say, oh, this is Pong. This is, Super Mario Brothers. This is, Pitfall and stuff like that, to just remember the roots of where we came from. So,
well, and not necessarily just one big one. You could have people do their own. Think about Nintendo. Like, Nintendo could easily in Japan do their own Hall of Fame or their own museum of all of their work. Same with Sony.
Absolutely.
Hell, if I don't know what kind of space they have, but if Nintendo's headquarters would allow it, you could do a small little museum in there, or maybe they could buy another building in the area to create their own. So there are people, there are companies big enough where they could make their own museums. Microsoft could do one for them. Teams like Volition, maybe you're not going to rent out a whole building for it, but yeah, you'd have some collaboration, some like multi-studio, multi-game museums. But the big dogs, like, they could easily have one for their entire history. It wouldn't, and not even because think about how much memorabilia and what kind of access Nintendo has to its own stuff, like, and how much of that is just sitting somewhere and not being used or shown.
Nintendo has a museum.
Oh, they do? Okay.
Yes. And actually, if you search Nintendo, it's museum.nintendo.com, and it's their own freestanding building, and it's in Tokyo, and it looks impressive as hell. But yeah, I thought they did, but they should something along that line, maybe not balkanized per publisher, but something along the lines of that, where people could go see the whole history. The industry has to build towards that at some point, for sure.
And Redbeard Rick in chat says that there's a video game museum in Sheffield near him.
Is that the Retro Collective?
Yeah, Rick, you heard him. No, and obviously, whether it's virtual, whether it's physical, anything that can be done. And Redbeard Rick also says shout out to Abandonware website that there is I'm not sure which one he's talking about, but archive.org keeps a lot of stuff alive.
So it's called the National Video Game Museum.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. So anyways, we're coming up on the 2-hour mark, and we're all busy adults, so let's start wrapping this up. But Jeff, as usual, guest, go right ahead. Start with your shout outs.
My shout out is going to be to France, because they definitely came up with the best flavor of vanilla ice cream. That's all I got this week.
Wow.
All right. Yield.
Shout out to Jeff for coming on this week. Shout out to Alex and Tricky and Matt for recording this evening, and Matt for putting together the show notes. Whoa, clicked on something I shouldn't have clicked on.
Go ahead and finish your drive-through order. We'll wait.
Thank you. Shout out to Nitro and the Brain 76 for some Rocket League the other night. Shout out to everybody hanging out in chat. Shout out to Gareth for not only his write-ups for the trophy event, but also putting it on. Shout out to all the pimps and the madams of the whoredom for hanging out with us and downloading the podcast. And so you guys are all awesome. That's it.
Alex?
Not one of us asked Yield how much he enjoyed his trip to Madagascar.
Madagascar?
Well, he didn't bring us in any new Madagascar listeners, so I figured it was a failure.
He doesn't listen to the show, so he has no idea what you're talking about.
That he went there.
Operation Vanilla Bean was not a success.
It was a joke from last week's show, but Yield doesn't listen to the show, so he doesn't know that joke was made.
Well, he's got stuff to do. I wouldn't listen to the show if I wasn't on it either. Anyway, now that I've said that, give a shout out to our listeners, the fans, the community, the fuel to the fire, the Trophy Horse. Thank you all for pushing us to 671 and beyond. We appreciate you all so very much. Shout out to Tricky, Matt, and Yield. Bands back together, and a big shout out to Jeff, our host. Always a great time with you on. Great seeing the pets. Love seeing the cats and the dog. I got to see all three of them, so I feel privileged now.
Sage came through, the little gray one?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sage exited out the door there on your left, though, maybe about 10 minutes ago.
Okay.
But yeah, thank you for always bringing your expertise, Jeff. We appreciate it. And last but not least, give a shout out to my loving, awesome girlfriend, Ashley. I love you, hun. She actually just started another run in Baldur's Gate. Look, Ashley doesn't finish a lot of games, but she's playing Baldur's Gate again, so that tells you how good that game is.
I'm surprised she's not playing Oblivion.
No. Oh, she was looking at it, but the money. She was not looking to spend the money right now. So she's got a bunch of stuff downloaded. She's been playing The Lonely Outpost. She downloaded a Siberia game, and she's just now jumping back into Baldur's Gate. So.
Ready? Tricky?
Shout out to Jeff. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Sorry we had the delay 2 weeks.
Not a problem.
We love having you on. You're invited anytime that you want to come on and make me feel stupid about something. You say such smart things sometimes I get confused. I'm like,
I know, but then you don't listen to me when I tell you the smart thing about pizza.
We're not going down the pizza debate.
Well, it's a real sore spot in our relationship.
At least your dog has good taste in pizza.
Dog will eat anything.
Shout out to Alex. Shout out to Yield. Shout out to Matt. Shout out to the people in chat. We got Will Ain't Dead, Zombie Cupcake, Jurassic Parky, Red Beard Rick, and we had Black Chaos in here and somebody else I'm forgetting
Hunter.
here. Hunter, and there was somebody else that came in originally. I forget who you were. I apologize. I would go back and try to remember, but I can't do that right now. Yeah. Thanks for everybody, and we'll see you guys next week. Oh. Before I let Matt finish the show, change of format on the show coming up. Skype is officially dying tomorrow, so the status of the live shows on Twitch and stuff like that is up in the air right now until we can find a suitable replacement. We're still going to be recording the shows. We just don't know how we're going to be doing it. We got to get Yield into the newer technology and get him working on something that he can record with us with. But as far as the live shows, we don't know how that's going to work going in the future. So this may be the last live show for a little while.
Will Ain't Dead in chat says StreamYard. Yeah, well, that costs money. So there's that.
And they don't have NDI.
So that said, for those of you who've joined us live every week, appreciate it. Until we figure out what the next step is, we'll let you know. But Jeff, always a pleasure having you on. Love another PC Master Race person on the show that can appreciate the finer hardware. You know, anybody. What was that?
I said, oh yeah.
You didn't go the route of trophy hater too? PC Master Race and trophy hater, fellow trophy hater.
Anybody can get to work to and from in a Honda Civic, but sometimes you want to drive something a little nicer. Thank you to all the listeners. Thanks to those who are in chat that Tricky named out. Thank you to the Channel 3 community. Make sure to look out for channel3.gg. I want to specifically call out a Channel 3 user, Dos Andres, who was posting and listening to the show, adding his comments and his specifically numbered trophy collection that I shared with Tricky. Tricky appreciated that, so thank you. Shout out to you gents for recording tonight, and shout out to my wife E. Thank you for everything you do. And with that said, Tricky will be taking the reins back next week because he decided to call me out, and I appreciate you, Tricky. So good luck.
We're even now because you pissed off Will.
Okay, yeah.
Until next week. Happy trophy hunting, everybody.
Thank you, Will, for your art.
See ya.
Later.
The theme song is Venus by the band Even off their album Zenith. Permission granted by the band and 12 Stone Records. You can find them on Facebook by going to www.facebook.com/evenphilippines.